Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me for another episode of DeeDee Does History. Today I've got a video coming at you with simple history. And this is for the president that kept reading a speech after being shot. A famous story from Teddy Roosevelt. I'm a little bit familiar with the story, but I haven't watched this video yet. As always, links will be in the description below to the original video, so if you like it, you can click through and like their video. If you really liked it, you can subscribe to their channel, and that way we can support the creators. We always want to support the creators of this content because it's great stuff. It informs us and lets me do what I do. So without any further ado, let's get into the video.
Teddy Roosevelt, the president that kept reading a speech after being shot. 1912. The famous American Theodore Teddy Roosevelt was the biggest hero of the Spanish-American War of 1898, won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1906 for mediating an end to the Russo-Japanese War, and was the inspiration for the teddy bear toy.
I did know that nice piece of trivia that the teddy bear was inspired by Theodore Roosevelt. And one other thing, just need to mention it because simple history, absolutely 10 out of 10, probably the best narrator of any history channel on YouTube. So sorry to everyone else, Griffin Johnson and any of the other narrators, but this is just amazing voice. I'm sorry.
One time he found himself in a bar fight when a cowboy was shooting wildly at the room, scaring the customers. The cowboy called Roosevelt Four Eyes in reference to his famous spectacles and followed Teddy around with his guns. Roosevelt hit him in the jaw with his left and right fists. Then the cowboy's guns went off and he hit his head on the bar, knocking him unconscious. Another time, Roosevelt's boat was stolen. Him and his friends built a boat from scratch in 3 days to hunt down the thieves. They tracked them down along the river while in temperatures as low as 0 degrees Fahrenheit. When they caught the thieves, Roosevelt roughed up and captured the men and brought them back to be arrested. It's said that to pass the time on the journey back, he read poetry to the dangerous bandits. Roosevelt was elected Vice President of the United States in 1901, but just over 6 months later, he became the 26th president when the current president, William McKinley, was assassinated after being shot twice by Polish-American anarchist Leon Czolgosz. At 42, Roosevelt became the youngest president in the nation's history. When the U.S. president refused to shoot a bear cub on a 1902 hunting trip, a toy maker named a stuffed bear after Roosevelt. Soon, the teddy bear fad swept the American nation. Roosevelt was also a mixed martial artist in jiu-jitsu, judo, and boxing. He loved boxing, and he continued to do it even when he reached the White House.
I had forgotten the details of why it was the teddy bear. It was, he had refused to shoot a bear. He shot many other animals, so don't think he was some sort of a vegan or anything.
He would often challenge professional boxers to hit him in the jaw as hard as possible, and wouldn't hesitate to then knock them back. One day, Roosevelt challenged Colonel Dan T. Meade, a military aide at the White House, to a boxing match in the White House gym. Roosevelt demanded a tough fight. In the fight, Meade's punch landed on Roosevelt's left eye, damaging blood vessels and making him blind in that eye. After this, he continued fighting in jiu-jitsu and judo. Roosevelt was successfully re-elected for a second term as president in 1904 and served until 1909. He then decided not to try to be re-elected for another time, as he felt it was time for a younger man to take over. But by the time of the next presidential elections in 1912, he had become disillusioned about how his party, the Republicans, were running the country. So he stood as the presidential candidate for a newly formed Progressive Party, which was often referred to as the Bull Moose Party. It got its nickname because Roosevelt was often described himself as having the strength and vigor of a bull moose. His running for a third term as a president was considered controversial because he intended to break the American tradition of two-term presidencies. And while campaigning in Milwaukee in the state of Wisconsin in hope of being elected president one...
It's kind of a real technicality there, right? Because he was never elected to his first term as president. McKinley was assassinated and he ascended from the vice presidency to the presidency. not a constitutional expert, but I'm betting if there is something on 2 terms, it's written in they can only stand and be elected president twice, would be my thought on that. If you do know any differently, definitely leave the info in the comments below and link where you might have that information from. But I would say that's probably why he was allowed to go for more than 2 terms serving as president, because of taking it without having been elected to the office the first time through.
Once more, Roosevelt nearly suffered the same fate as McKinley. He was about to give a speech when John Fleming Schrank, a Bavarian-born saloon keeper, attempted to kill Roosevelt by shooting him with a revolver. The bullet struck Roosevelt in his chest, but his life was saved as the bullet was slowed down considerably as it went in first through the heavy overcoat he was wearing, then the steel-reinforced eyeglass case in his breast pocket, and finally the 50-page copy of the speech he was about to give, before finally becoming lodged in his chest.
Wow.
The crowd screamed in panic, but Elbert Martin, secretary of the president and an ex-football player, leapt from his car and tackled Schrank to the ground. Soon, former Rough Riders, bodyguards, and policemen were upon the assassin and began hitting him. Roosevelt stumbled but then straightened himself and reassured the audience with a beaming smile. He turned to his aide saying, "He pinked me, Harry." The crowd demanded blood and for Schrank to be killed. It was only Roosevelt who seemed to be calm and wanted to prevent this, shouting, "Don't hurt him. Bring him here. I want to see him." Roosevelt then asked the shooter, "What did you do it for?" When there was no answer, he said, "Oh, what's the use? Turn him over to the police." Feeling the bullet hole in his chest, Roosevelt coughed 3 times. As an experienced hunter and anatomist, he concluded that the lack of blood being coughed up meant that the bullet had not reached his lung. Roosevelt, feeling he was not seriously injured, insisted to the doctor that he was going to give his speech. The speech lasted for 84 minutes, despite the blood that could be clearly seen staining his shirt. He started the speech by saying, "I don't know whether you fully understand that I've just been shot, but it takes more than that to kill a bull moose." Then, when his speech was finally over, he allowed himself to be taken to the hospital, where the doctors decided it would be more dangerous to remove the bullet, and instead left it lodged in his chest muscle, where it remained for the rest of his life. Schrank, the would-be assassin, was later to claim he was told to kill Roosevelt by the ghost of the former President McKinley, who came to him in a dream. Roosevelt recovered quickly, but was not successful in his bid to be re-elected as president, and later devoted much time to being an explorer as well as a successful author. He died in his sleep from a blood clot on January 6, 1919, at the age of 60. As for Schrank, at his trial he was deemed insane and spent the rest of his life in a mental institution. He died of bronchitis in 1943 at the age of 67. Big thank you to our sponsor, Dragon City.
So, wow, there was a lot of detail there that I didn't know about that story. Like I said, I was familiar with the idea. Overall, he had been shot. He had continued the speech and given this long speech afterwards. And the recollection that I had heard is that he had even somewhat poked fun at the person who tried to shoot him, tried to end his life. So you can see all through his life was just an incredible man. So if you'd like to learn more about him, we could cover other information. If there's anything else you'd like to see me cover, historical periods, events, specific videos, leave them in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe to this page. It all helps me. And as always, the information will be in the description below so that you can click through, like, leave a comment, do anything that you can do to support the original creators of these amazing videos, this content, and so that they can keep producing and educating and entertaining. I hope you had a good time today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope we learned something together. And as always, I hope you stay safe and have an awesome day.